Hello, folks. Welcome to Padawans, training the next generation of instructors before they are needed. I'm Hillary Barker, the State Director of Career and Tech Ed at the Wisconsin Technical College System Office, and this session is being recorded and there will be Q&A time at the end, so please share your questions in the chat. And then also to turn on captions during the session, please click on the three dots at the top of the meeting, then click on language and speech, turn on live captions. And for more information about live captions, please visit the Microsoft support link that I have put in the chat, and I will put it in there one more time. Resources and recordings will be available on the WTCS Faculty Summit site, and our goal is to have the recordings and resources uploaded so that next week we'll send out an email saying that they're available, and I'll put the link to that in the chat. As we get started, let's just take a moment to review the session expectations, and these are engagement, listen actively, and be in the room. Curiosity, ask questions and be curious, and then balance, take space and make space. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to our presenter.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Huser, and I am the lead paramedic instructor and program director for Mid-State Technical College in Wisconsin Rapids. All right, so as we get started, some of you may be wondering, what is a Padawan? It is a Star Wars reference to a Jedi in training. So I thought it was a really good reference to training our next generation of instructors. So as we jump in, there we go. Essentially, what I'm going to be talking about today is succession training. When we've developed our instructor internship program here in the paramedic program at Mid-State, we kind of live by these four guiding principles as we were developing our program. So the first part is we wanted to identify what are the critical roles of my job, and we also need to identify who are the people that are potentially going to be taking my place. We live in a very, very crazy world out there. We never know what's going to happen. I always tell my boss, listen, if I'm hit by a milk truck today, what's going to happen to the program tomorrow? It's a very Wisconsin thing to say, but from your personal perspective, let's be a little bit more optimistic. If you hit the Powerball jackpot tonight and you win that type of money where you're not coming into work tomorrow, what happens to your program? What happens to your work? I'm sure you won't care. You can pay somebody to care, but what is your college going to do if you hit the jackpot today? So we identify people, and then we work to develop them. We create a tailor-made development program. Every potential instructor is going to have strengths and weaknesses, and it's going to be about harnessing those strengths and weaknesses to help them develop a teaching style that is going to work exclusively for them. And then we provide those potential instructors with experiences, with the goal being that we have a constant and steady supply of capable leaders. So for any milk truck related emergencies or lottery winnings, retirements, resignations, or in the case of poor Qui-Gon Jinn, murder by a Sith Lord, that our programs can carry on with minimal interruptions. So benefits of succession training, there's always going to be a reduced cost having somebody ready to go. By putting effort in very early in people's careers, it makes transition from not being an instructor to an adjunct instructor, and from an adjunct instructor to a primary instructor very, very easy. When all goes well, these potential instructors, they will know the programs, they will know the processes, they'll know the people, they'll know the paperwork, and that, of course, is going to save money in the long run. It makes for those smooth transitions. It makes for easy handover. In that first year, it even gives the instructor something to work with, something to start with, a jumping off point, if you will. Now, I'm not sure how many of you inherited a program like I inherited, but in 2016, when I inherited the keys to the paramedic program, I was privileged to receive about 10 blank blackboard shells. And the first book in a 5 textbook series. So that is what I had to work with. That's what I had to go off of. My program was built from the ground up. What we don't want to do is we don't want new instructors to feel that overwhelmed. We want to be able to transition them into something. Maybe for the first semester after you've hit the lottery, your successor is going to work off of your program, but it's going to give them a starting point as they begin to develop and refine the program so it works for them. It keeps internal knowledge relevant, and it keeps it with the institution. With me making the presentation today, obviously I'm taking one of my things and sharing it with the world. But not every organization is going to be as open with sharing what they're doing. And by being able to go to somebody in-house, somebody that's already in the know, you can help keep the secrets. It boosts employee morale. I think there's nothing, no greater gift that supervisors and senior leadership can give their employees than the ability to grow within a job, to keep them challenged, and for those that are a little bit more ambitious, give them the opportunity to promote within their organization. Sometimes we really love our organizations, and we want to stay with those organizations as best we can. And this certainly helps boost morale by creating growth opportunities. And then it creates a flexible and adaptable workforce that's ready to handle changes. So, again, you buy your lottery ticket, you're in it to win it at that point. Your jackpot hits. Let's be real, it's always going to be unexpected if you hit a Powerball jackpot. And in this case, we're not shocking the system. Your students aren't going to be simply thrown out of their program. There's somebody else that can step in and carry the torch, if you will. So jumping into those 4 principles that we had talked about earlier with succession training, starting with identification. So when we developed our instructor internship program, myself, my sim specialist, and my dean, we sat down and we looked at what are some of the 10 to 12 most important aspects of being an instructor? What are the critical roles? What would make a difference? Oftentimes, the analogy of congratulations, you are now in charge. Here's your toolbox. And as you open the toolbox, you find many, many tools that can do many great things, and they can build wonderful monuments. However, if you don't know how those tools work, then they're not going to be effective for you. So in the case of us as instructors in the tech college system, I think going from college to college, there are so many good tools out there. Um, we have instructor development centers, and I think they do a great job. But if you have a new instructor and they don't even know that there's an instructor development center at your college, they won't even know where to get training for these tools. So our interns, as they come in, as they're identified as they come in, they get trained in a variety of the important and critical aspects of my job. Those aspects can include the learning management system. So at Midstate, we have Blackboard. My instructors are granted access to the Blackboard modules that I am using for my paramedic students. They can see everything. I do give them full instructor access. So they have access to create and develop assignments, which is one of their goals. They have access to the grade book. So they can actually, and they do actually, participate in grading student assignments. All that through Blackboard. The students will have access to our Panopto system, and we use Panopto for content creation and video recording. And our students will receive videos that my interns make, and we deploy those to Blackboard. The students will watch them via Blackboard after the instructor takes the Panopto video and loads it in. Our instructors are trained to develop simulations and go through the process of learning our high fidelity human patient simulators, i.e., really expensive mannequins. They'll conduct debriefs, and finally, they learn classroom management. So they'll develop lesson plans. My program is an accredited program, so they sit down with me and they research our accreditation, and they will have to be able to have a conversation with me about accreditation if they wish to pass their goal. And I'll show you the goal sheet. It is coming up in a future slide. But those are just some of the critical roles that I've selected for my program, that if I were to promote or move on, that my successor could come in, potentially from this educated pool, and be able to continue on running the program. So who are these people? How do we pick them? Uh, I like to look for very junior instructors. I think anybody that has taught for more than a couple years, they're gonna know the system. They're gonna know how it works. They're gonna know Blackboard or Canvas. They're gonna know how to enter grades. They're gonna be comfortable developing and deploying assignments. So when we're identifying future instructors, the instructors interns that we're looking for have graduated the program only 2 or 3 years ago. These graduates, past students, future instructors have usually been having conversations with me about how do I get into being an adjunct instructor? How do I become a lab assistant? They have this ambition to get into the education side of the EMS career. And so usually I have some past students identified already. And as these interns come in, we do have a job description for them. They have to fill out an application. And many years, they do have to go through an interview process where they'll sit down with me and the other EMS instructors here at Midstate. And we want to find somebody that is going to be a good educator, that's going to be a good fit, that has the right attitude. So we are always looking for these employees. We post our job descriptions. I do maintain, again, for accreditation, a list of emails for all of my past students. So any student that graduated 2 to 3 years ago, every August, I simply send them an email with the information for the instructor internship along with the application, and they are welcome to fill it out and return it. And if they do that, they certainly do qualify for an interview and the chance to be selected as an intern. So if you look at the picture, you can see that there's paramedic students that are working. The young lady in the upper left corner, that is Delaney, and she was my intern several years ago. So you can see she is overseeing, in this case, a scenario. So developing these instructors, the instructors are given a series of 10 to 12 goal sheets, depending on the year, based on what we're hoping to train them on and what we're hoping to make them an intern in. I do run two different types of internships. I run a full instructor internship where they get everything. They get the Blackboard, they get the Panopto, they get lesson plan creation and development, assignment creation and development. And then I have a simulation internship where I'm developing simulation specialists that they're utilized more in on the technology side of running scenarios. So we have many high fidelity and medium fidelity human patient simulators that are very complicated to operate. They get a high level knowledge in how to maintain, keep safe, and make those mannequins work. We have simulated cardiac monitors. They get the education in how to maintain and run those simulated cardiac monitors. But every single goal that we have has a goal sheet that we have the interns fill out. And what it does is it takes the overarching goal. So in this case, on the screen, it's effective use of medium and high fidelity mannequins. And it gets the instructor intern to sit down and think about what that means to them. So if they're going to effectively use one of our high fidelity mannequins, we get them just thinking about how to do that. So you can see that they define the goal, and then they write out the steps of what they're going to need in order to achieve that goal and be successful with that goal. So in this case, it's learning how to operate our Apollo mannequin, learning how to maintenance it, learning how to keep them safe, learning how simply how they run, how to take them apart. Other detailed resources, in this case, they needed training, so I provided this intern with training on how to use the mannequin and simply let them practice for an hour. The opticals, they were afraid of damaging the equipment, which is very scary because one of our mannequins cost $86,000 fresh out of the box. And this particular intern was very worried about that. So we talked about the fragile points, the rules of the mannequin, and just kind of went over how to make sure the mannequin doesn't get damaged. So plans for overcoming the obstacles. Again, we went over the mannequin with that intern. And then how would that in turn define success? So in this case, it was, again, effectively using the mannequin in a simulation. Now, of course, that's not a good way, like in a lesson plan to lay out a goal, but this was before his lesson plan goal sheet was filled out, so he did learn how to properly measure success. But in this case, yes, he ran my simulations for me one day. He ran the mannequin, and he did it with confidence, and that's how we declared that this goal was a successfully completed goal. The experience, our instructors are always given the experience to teach. I always tell my interns that when my interns are on campus, that they're taking the role and the place of me. So they come in, they log into the instructor station, they do the attendance, they check in the students for the day, they run the warm-ups, and I'm sitting in the back of the classroom. There is moral support as a safety net, but we let the instructors do the teaching, taking lead while there's somebody else there to watch over them. And I don't know if y'all remember your first day in the classroom. I remember my first day in the classroom. There was really nobody else there. I was absolutely petrified, and I blindly fumbled my way through it. I never want my interns to feel that way. So when they are leading and they are teaching, I'm working with them. I'm coaching them as we move from activity to activity. I'm briefing them on the expectations and kind of letting them go. And this experience all culminates in a goal day. So the students, they pick a day in my calendar and they go, this is the day that I'm going to teach. They develop the lesson plan, they develop the activities, they have to set the lab. I give them adjunct instructors and they have to lead and manage those adjunct instructors. I really do pretend. I tell them, listen, pretend I'm not even here. Of course, I'm there for the moral support, but they run the entire day. And once they've cleared their goal day, their confidence is palpable. It's amazing to see. And by allowing them to do that, we've now given the instructor not only the tools, but shown them how to use those tools, and then shown them that they know how to use those tools by running through the goal day. And the goal of anything is to develop good future instructors. In this picture on the right, barely kind of hidden by my words, that's Chris White. Chris is actually running my class for me today, so I can be at this presentation. In the middle is Anna, and then on the far left is going to be the star of this slide. That's Nathaniel Disher. Nathaniel Disher was a 2022 graduate of the Mid-State Technical College Paramedic Program. He was one of my interns last year for the 24-25 school year. And when Mid-State posted for a second full-time paramedic instructor position in July of this year, Nathaniel put in for that position and was hired by Mid-State Technical College via grant funding. And he will be teaching his first full paramedic cohort starting in January. So we were able to take Nathaniel from student to intern to now full-time instructor. And he has been able to jump in, hit the ground running. He knows what the program expectations are. He knows what is expected of our program as far as quality, and he knows how to use all the tools. So he has taken my program and retooled it to fit his teaching style, and he is anxious and ready to get started. 19 minutes, not bad. All right, so we have about 5 to 6 minutes left for questions. Are there any questions?
And folks, I'm gonna change your permission so that you can, if you would like to say your question out loud or even come on camera, you can. But also please put things in the chat. I'll be monitoring that as well. Darlene.
Yeah, so I love this. My program will be expanding. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on how you vet those former students? Did you say that you send out a survey?
Yes, I have an application that we created, and it did go through our HR, but it essentially has the student talk about why they want to be an instructor, what they hope to gain from being an instructor, and kind of what their goals are, with their future EMS career. And then once we get those applications back, we do a full interview with the student and just kind of lay out the internship for them. Most students have had interns in their class, so they know what to expect. But yeah, that's kind of how we vet.
Cool. And then have you experienced any how can I say this? Have you experienced it where maybe the current students are maybe questioning the experience level of the intern that's coming in, being that they were just students a couple of years ago? Or do you find that they're more receptive to that intern?
Oh, what a great question. So, typically, I will have a lot more of the lead early on, and the intern is kind of standing next to me. When the students start asking questions, if the intern is comfortable to answer that, they start, and we do build that rapport with the students. You're right, it does take about a month for the students to get comfortable, but considering that the interns are usually about 10 to 12 years younger than me, that kind of almost peer-to-peer relationship develops, and the students, they will gravitate to the interns and talk with them because they go, hey, you were in class 2 years ago. How did you handle this situation? How did you manage it? How did you make it through? And that really helps to build the rapport. So then when that intern is at the front of the classroom, they do have the respect of their students.
Kind of a related question in the chat from Katie. Do you feel without adequate real-world experience, these interns turn instructor have enough to give students? So, for example, most nursing instructors have many years at the bedside before shifting to academia.
Oh, yeah. So that is kind of covered in our application process. The instructors, they do have to be working somewhere. They do have to have, we do like them to have full-time employment so they can develop that experience. And we've been very blessed that we're living in rural Wisconsin. Our instructor interns are getting a lot of experience in the 911 and interfacility realm of things. So, yes, even though they are relatively new to the field, they do have enough relevant experience. And that's why, hence the 2 to 3 year window before bringing them back in. They should have a full year of experience before coming back. You're welcome.